Yeah, I just have to be blunt and upfront. This is Theo Cedar Jones. That my name, Theo, means God. And is this a coincidence? I've always presumed since birth that I was God. Not in any exclusive sense, but y'all doofus human beings seem to think that you're somehow not God, I realized by age 3 in utter despair. Near suicidal despair at age 3. And so I've just had to bear the consequences of assuming this grandiose position in a materialistic consumer culture, which says that everybody is a meat sack robot consumer slave until death, upon which consciousness is extinguished by the scientific priesthood's belief in a consciousness as mere random byproduct of material interactions in the universe. Dark shit like that. So, what does it mean that I am God? I think it means a bunch of things, but for one, I've had the most miraculously fortunate and free and richly experienced life of anyone alive at this time. I think I have the greatest life of anyone alive, and it would be complex and long to explain that. I'd have to give you my life resume. And so what if this life resume is what it is? Is that indication of being God? What would you expect from somebody who is God? Mir Baba claimed to be God. Adida is God. I mean, for real. As all you are and will realize as well. But for the time being, for some reason, I was invested in this life from birth with a grand presumption that I am uniquely charmed, blessed, and fortunate, like not just a son of God, but like just straight up God. Fuck all this displacement. Oh, the son of? Isn't that a bit Oedipal? I'm like, nah, forget all that. I'm the source. I'm not different from the source. I'm not lesser than or displaced than, of course, subordinate to Adida forever, but you know what I mean. I'm not subordinate to any of the man-made religions, or I'm not subordinate to any of the cultural dispositions that have ever existed previous to Adida. Although I also acknowledge any true spiritual master of greater realization than myself, and always assume its subordinate position to any realizer greater than me. But now that I've been ripped up to the 7th stage by Adida's it's like he lets me skip over the 4th, 5th, and 6th stages of life, and I have strong 4th stage tendencies, and I have strong 6th stage tendencies, and I have strong aversions to the 5th stage, and I'm just relieved of all of that drama altogether by Bhagavan. He's like above the fray, above the struggles and strivings of the first 6 stages of life. Bhagavan is the sunlight of the free. So for anyone who wants to enjoy the most grandiose, the grandest life, what would be the greatest life? So as I've defined it, except for the fame and the establishment of the Global Cooperative Forum, there's these main achievements yet to come, hurdles unyet overarched. but save those unmet goals. Save for those yet unmet goals. I've achieved more of the things that I value than any other human I know of on planet Earth. And it would not be possible to achieve the standards of my godlike life achievements without Adida being at the center of it all. And only those people on the planet now who are either directly or indirectly connected to Adida and receiving the blessings from turning to him directly, then you would not gain access to those experiences which I've had that only those who have turned to Adida can have. Or it would seem some who are not turning to Adida directly but have accelerated to awakening in the new environment that Adida has created for everybody to awaken more easily. Referring to the Richardom event of 2000 and cutting off the ego at its root for the entire civilization, and then coming up with prior unity as an official declaration in 2006 as the substitute or replacement for the ego separative presumption at the heart of the old civilization. So, in any case, it's just a lark, or maybe a self-defense, a justification to say, if you were to be God, and just presume that you are God, what would the results of that look like in someone's life? I think you would want to see someone who's an extraordinary achiever, in the worldly sense even. And Adida achieved extraordinary worldly things. He's God. Osho, I think, has a self-presumption of being God. Rama, Dr. Frederick Lenz, has a self-presumption of being God. But not so much Gandhi or Martin Luther King, or the Dalai Lama, or the Pope. These people are somehow conventionally or even tediously at a self-generated remove from God through their self-generated presumption of being a follower of the Son of God, or somehow a mortal creature as a part of God's creation separate from God. All that kind of shit. I always knew that was shit. It was conventions of language and muscular stress and chronic collapse into the self-contraction. Constant suffering and constant seeking in a stressful way for either escape or pleasure. And pleasure and escape are the two primary motivating factors of the ego. And anyway, it's hard to talk around this issue that I am God and even make a framework of discussion in an English language, Western culture manner that somehow can allow for this justification. I was born with a tacit understanding that I am God. Also, nature is God. Those two things were clear. My dad was godlike, and my mother too. But not exactly God. Godlike in their case. But me, I was special, okay? I was obviously fucking special. To myself, I knew this. And I think that people responded to that in me because of the wonderful friendships that I have in life, that I was out for love. I said that for me to be born in this world, in this culture, God had to be in the forms of art, nature, and love. And in a sense, myself, my own just self-existing self-integrity was always never in doubt, never in question. I always knew that I was the authoritative presence of God, and none were above me, except and until the two spiritual masters in Adida were made known to me at age 18. Before that, the only knowledge of God that I had that was tangible and ascertainable were art, love, and nature. But meeting Janine at age 17, blew my love heart open to a cosmic, almost impersonal level that was definitely religious and premonitorily spiritual. My first acid trip at age 18 blew open just the spiritual everything and just made it tacitly clear that, in a way, this age 18 was the confirmation of the birth presumption, I am God. And tripping at age 18 made me remember that I'm on an age-old spiritual path of meditation and devotion and renunciation and and cooperation. See? There's a huge taboo against this. And I'm just fighting psychic warfare every fucking day. Yeah, so the acid certainly didn't do anything to reduce or contain any grandiosity of self-presumption exhibited thus far in life. And all my drug use certainly have supported my godlike, truly miraculous achievements. And not that they're mine, but I certainly cooperated with the presumption that I'm God. I cooperated with the idea that I could manifest to an unlimited degree. Not necessarily in gross terms of fame and money, the way I thought I would at this point, but certainly in terms of the other metrics that I truly value the most. And I would have to give an enumeration of those life metrics that constitute how I would measure the results of my life resume. But if you do agree that Rama and Osho are examples and Meher Baba, do you think Yogananda had thought he was God? Yogananda to me always seems a little conventional, a little self-sanitized in his autobiography so that he can make it seem like all's well in spiritual land, when if you listen to Adida, it's like, no. Everyone is corrupt, egoic, at fault, with the exception of a few bright devotees, Meridian Smiths, and more to come, to be sure. But if you agree that those Rama, Osho, Adida, Meher Baba have a clear self-presumption of being God, and I'm only talking about those true spiritual masters that got on to American soil, and it would sure be nice to know what Vivekananda was thinking in the last days of his life, after being frustrated, terminally frustrated, if you like, with the West, coming back to India to die, already having been drawn to the highest level of realization that any human had ever realized, it would seem. Because, other than the 6-stage realization of Ramana Maharshi, of course, which is the other greatest realization that I'm aware of. Sevadida. Vivekananda Ramakrishna were the greatest gesture towards the divine, as Adida said, I think something like that had ever happened before. And it was and Ramana Maharshi too. You really got to put those two, combine them to get the foundation necessary for the God avataric incarnation of Adida. Ramakrishna Vivekananda had to make that great gesture for Adida to come down now. That's for sure. So, the love affair between Vivekananda and Ramakrishna is so strange, unspeakable, unspoken of, not understood. Are they gay men who became God? They didn't fuck. But it is known that Ramakrishna dressed as a woman, and Vivekananda was the manly man, so they did polarize male-female. And it's so interesting. Ramakrishna is the female pole, but is the greater because he's the elder and the guru first, and the master, the realizer before Vivekananda. But in a way, Vivekananda is the greater. And it's very puzzling. Are they two gurus in one? Two gurus as one? The two in one? That's the kind of extraordinary aspects of God in our modern times. Vivekananda, who came to the West, already was combined as the double guru, Vivekananda Ramakrishna. When he came to America, he was already that extraordinary personality. That's God. For fuck's sake, sure, yes, Vivekananda has a self-presumption of being God in some sense. And maybe didn't. There's so much more to learn about Vivekananda, and I bring it on. He's so good for us. So all those ones I mentioned have self-presumption of God. Then you could say, well, look at their life resume, and I would even say, in a perverse way, Krishnamurti, even though he's such an iconoclast, you would say he would never say, I am God. He would say, your idea of God is bullshit. But that dude obviously was transcendentally realized as God. To me, I always felt that from him. And he had to play a hard-ass game with the fucking egos. And he came across as contrary. Good for him. So I'm just trying to look at other examples. If you were to analyze my life resume and say, Theo, does this look like somebody who thinks they're God or whatever? Who cares? I'm just saying that's how it was for me. That's how it is, and look where it got me. I found the God-man in my lifetime when he was physically alive in the body. I became his formal devotee while he was physically alive in the body. And after his death, he granted me an awakening for over 2.5 years so far. Beyond what I could possibly have imagined. And we all knew that the Guru wanted us to realize quickly. He had no expectation that this should take long. And after 2008, it took 5 years. And if I honestly told you, I didn't expect to be realized or awakened in this lifetime. Even though I'm all about that, I was all about enlightenment, I knew that's the truth. There was always a sense of that it can't happen to me. Maybe some other lifetime. Way in the future. when I really pay some dues. But I've learned that Adida's style is very benign. Get you there faster, get you there easier than it will ever be otherwise. Even though it's still the worst ordeal that the ego will ever face, it's what the ego has resisted for endless time. So it's the worst and longest habit, most difficult to break. Impossible to break. The ego cannot wake up of its own accord. And it's utterly helpless and utterly dependent on the grace of the Guru for awakening. This is the result. Samadhis, 4th stage and 6th stage every day. Gifted with the knowledge of the graceful masses. No, people just don't understand how great the gifts are that Adida is bringing, and how you have to be positioned in a way to receive them, whereby you could appreciate them and be sensitized to them, etc. But I'm telling you, it was 7 years from deciding to be Adida's devotee till his death, and then 5 more years till awakening. I mean, the first major principle, fundamental awakening. People talk about having awakenings, and it's not just a spiritual experience, it's the loss of something, as Lisa Cairns says. It's about the ultimate, total loss of everything. And the willingness to face that, experience it without reservation. So 7 years plus 5 years is 12 years, people. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect the Guru to die at age 69 due to being stifled by his own devotees. And then I'm always on the receiving line to get everything Adida has to give. And so after his death, I was like, oh, he flashed forward to this world and made it possible for me to do enough practice and have all the life circumstances of practice line up enough to allow the unexpected, the truly unexpected, the most unexpected possible thing to happen. And now I can say, I am God, with a new level of grandiose self-presumption of saying, I had an awakening from the ego self-contraction. Yes, it's worth it. unreservedly, yes. Follow any and all of your attractions to Adida. Don't take no for an answer from anyone who tries to get in your way of being a foolish devotee of the Guru Adida. With your heart out, your cock out, everything, give it to the Guru. And I do this practice. I even have a practice I'm still, there's things I still do post-awakening. I do all my right life practices the same as before, save for the conscious process, self-observation of what am I always doing? The repeating question, what am I always doing? No, I don't do it at all. Except sometimes just as a memory, and like a muscle memory, reflex of practice. But still do all my right life practices, and I intend to always do them for life, for sure. And Adida works for everybody. Adida is compatible with everybody. Adida is meditating everybody, and Adida has already granted you the 7th stage realization. And you are, in fact, already living in the reality state of 7th stage realization. Ultimate enlightenment is now the case for you, anyone and everyone. Even if you may not feel that way right now. The reason you're not feeling the reality state, if you're not, is because you're doing the ego self-contraction and enforcing self-suppressive, self-abnegating denial of the radiant divine life consciousness itself. I expect you all to say, I am God. Say it. I am God. Now you start taking a piece of the responsibility that I've been taking.